Arcology, a portmanteau of architecture, and ecology, is a vision of architectural design principles for very densely populated habitats. The concept has been primarily popularized, and the term itself coined, by architect Paolo Soleri. It also appears in science fiction. These structures have been largely hypothetical insofar as no arcology envisioned by Soleri himself has yet been completed, but he posited that a completed arcology would provide space for a variety of residential, commercial, and agricultural facilities while minimizing individual human environmental impact. Arcologies are often portrayed in sci-fi as self-contained or economically self-sufficient. Development: an arcology is distinguished from a merely large building in that it is designed to lessen the impact of human habitation on any given ecosystem. It could be self-sustainable, employing all or most of its own available resources for a comfortable life, power, climate control, food production, air and water conservation and purification, sewage treatment, etc. An arcology is designed to make it possible to supply those items for a large population. An arcology would supply and maintain its own municipal or urban infrastructures in order to operate and connect with other urban environments apart from its own. Arcology was proposed to reduce human impact on natural resources. Arcology designs might apply conventional building and civil engineering techniques in very large but practical projects in order to achieve pedestrian economies of scale that have proven, post-automobile, to be difficult to achieve in other ways. Frank Lloyd Wright proposed an early version called Broadacre City, although, in contrast to an arcology, Wright's idea is comparatively two-dimensional and depends on a road network. Wright's plan described transportation, agriculture, and commerce systems that would support an economy. Critics say that Wright's solution failed to account for population growth, and assumed a more rigid democracy than the USA actually has. Buckminster Fuller proposed the Old Man Rivers City project, a domed city with a capacity of 125,000, as a solution to the housing problems in East St. Louis, Illinois. Paolo Soleri proposed later solutions, and coined the term arcology. Soleri describes ways of compacting city structures in 3 dimensions to combat 2-dimensional urban sprawl, to economize on transportation and other energy uses. Like Wright, Soleri proposed changes in transportation, agriculture, and commerce. Soleri explored reductions in resource consumption and duplication, land reclamation. He also proposed to eliminate most private transportation. He advocated for greater frugality, and favored greater use of shared social resources, including public transit. Similar real-world projects: Arcology is an experimental arcology prototype, a demonstration project under construction in central Arizona. Designed by Paolo Soleri, its primary purpose is to demonstrate Soleri's personal designs, his application of principles of arcology to create a pedestrian-friendly urban form. Many cities in the world have proposed projects adhering to the design principles of the arcology concept, like Tokyo, and Dongtan near Shanghai. The Dongtan project may have collapsed, and it failed to open for the Shanghai World Expo in 2010. Certain urban projects reflect arcology principles. Pedestrian connection systems often provide a wide range of goods and services in a single structure. Some examples include the Plus 15 system in downtown Calgary, Montre copyright ALA Euro unregistered trademark SRA Permil SO, or the Minneapolis Skyway system and the windscreen in Fremont, Quebec. They include supermarkets, malls and entertainment complexes. The Plus 15 is the world's most extensive skywalk, at 16 kilometers in total length. Minneapolis has the longest single path, at 13 kilometers. With success, Alaska was never built, but would have been a small city just outside of Anchorage. Chicago has a sizable tunnel system known as the Chicago Pedway, connecting a portion of the buildings in the Chicago Loop. The Las Vegas Strip has many arcology features to protect people from the 45°C heat. Many major casinos are connected by tunnels, footbridges, and monorails. It is possible to travel from Mandalay Bay at the south end of the Strip to the Las Vegas Convention Center, 3 miles to the north, without using streets. In many cases, it is possible to travel between several different casinos without ever going outdoors. It is possible to live in this complex without need to venture outside, except the Strip has not generally been considered self-sustainable. Soleri did not advocate for enclosed cities, although he did sketch a design and build a model of an arcology for outer space. The Toronto downtown area features an underground pedestrian network, PATH. Multiple high-rises are connected by a series of underground tunnels. It is possible to live in this complex without needing to venture outside, but the PATH network is not self-sustaining, nor is it presently self-sustainable. The total network spans 28 kilometers. McMurdo Station of the United States Antarctic Program and other scientific research stations on the continent of Antarctica resemble the popular conception of an arcology as a technologically advanced, relatively self-sufficient human community. The Antarctic Research Base provides living and entertainment amenities for roughly 3,000 staff who visit each year. Its remoteness and the measures needed to protect its population from the harsh environment give it an insular character. The station is not self-sufficient. The U.S. military delivers 30,000 cubic meters of fuel and 5 kilotons of supplies and equipment yearly through its Operation Deep Freeze resupply effort to but it is isolated from conventional support networks. The base generates electricity with its own power plant, and grows fruits and vegetables in a hydroponic greenhouse when resupply is non-existent. Under international treaty, it must avoid damage to the surrounding ecosystem. Crystal Island is a proposed arcology in Moscow, Russia. In 2009, construction was postponed indefinitely due to the global economic crisis. The Bajaj Towers operates like a small-scale arcology encompassing nearly all of the population of Whittier, Alaska. The pair of buildings contains residential housing as well as a school, grocery, and municipal offices. Whittier once boasted a second structure known as the Buckner Building. The Buckner Building still stands but was deemed unfit for habitation after the 1969 earthquake. In popular culture, most proposals to build real arcologies have failed due to financial, structural or conceptual shortcomings. Arcologies are therefore found primarily in fictional works. One significant example is the novel Oath of Fealty by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. In the novel, a segment of the Los Angeles population has moved into an arcology. The plot examines the social changes that result, both inside and outside the arcology. Thus the arcology is presented not just as a plot device but as a subject of critique. Novels and comics 1899 H. G. Wells' A Story, When the Sleeper Wakes describes a rudimentary version of pre-Soleri arcology, having developed from the evolution of transportation. These are hotel-like and dominate the surrounding landscape, having replaced all towns and cities, albeit preserving their names. 1912 William Hope Hodgson's 1912 story The Last Redoubt from the Nightland features the first example of what we now would call an arcology, albeit with full artificial ecology, agriculture, public transport by mobile roadways. The future Earthlings depicted millions of years into the future have different reasons for building their metallic pyramid. 1940 85 in Isaac Asimov's robot series, Earth's population lives in large hyperstructures simply called cities. In Asimov's Empire and Foundation series, the capital planet Trantor of the Galactic Empire is a completely built-up planet, covered in its entirety with tall buildings and subterranean structures. 1967 68 in John Christopher's trilogy of novels The Tripods, an alien race known as the Masters live in 3 huge, domed arcologies built on Earth to use as a base from which to colonize the planet. The structures are made from a golden material, and are capped with a crystal that replicates the atmospheric conditions of the Masters' home planet. 1971 in the novel The World Inside by Robert Silverberg, the characters all live in urban monads, self-contained 3-kilometer-high hyperstructures of 1,000 stories each, providing everything necessary to the society. 1974 in the Joe Hordman novel The Forever War much of the action between William Mandela's first and second deployments occurs in an arcology. 1975 a Euro J.G. Ballard's novel High Rise features a luxury arcology in which disparity between social classes among the residents eventually leads to widespread anarchy and a reversion to primitive archetypes. 1977 a Euro Frank Herbert's novel The Dosadi Experiment focuses on the creation of a super race through the control of another race, that forces them to live in an arcological situation. 1977 a Euro 96 a Euro in Gregory Benford's Galactic Center saga. Several thousand years in the future, descendants of humanity have migrated deep towards the galactic core, to directly compete with the machine-based civilizations. To survive, humanity is forced to transform itself, adding biological and cybernetic enhancements, to compete with the machines. Over 5,000 years, as humanity falls further behind, culture decays from the Chandelier Age where humanity lived in great citadels between the stars, to the High Arcology era and finally the Citadel Age. 1977 a Euro present a Euro in the Judge Dredd comic stories, originally published in 2000 AD, the megalopolis of Mega City 1 consists of many hundreds, if not thousands, of city blocks, in which a citizen can be born, grow, live, and die without ever leaving. 1982 a Euro in Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle's collaboration Oath of Fealty. Much of the action is set in and around Todos Santos, an arcology built in a burnt-out section of Los Angeles that has evolved to separate culture from the city around it. 1984 a Euro 88 a Euro William Gibson's Sprawl trilogy features various arcologies, including the projects, and those built by global corporations to house their top research scientists. They are also featured in the Bridge trilogy. 1986 a Euro present a Euro in Lois McMaster Bujold's four Kozakin saga novels. The inhabitants of the planet Komar live in Arcologies, because the surface of the planet is inhospitable. 1989 a Euro 99 a Euro David Wingrove's Chunklo series depicts a dystopian future Earth in which almost the entire population lives within several hyperstructures that are thousands of feet tall and span entire continents. 1996 a Euro 99 a Euro all the remaining cities of the Earth are hyperstructures in Peter F. Hamilton's The Night's Dawn trilogy. Arcology structures are located on worlds in Peter F. Hamilton's The Dreaming Void. Films and television 1976 a Euro the city in the film Logan's Run is entirely self-contained for all resources, except power, which is said to be supplied by water moved by the tides. 1982 a Euro in the film Blade Runner by Ridley Scott, the main offices of the fictional Tyrell Corporation resemble a hyperstructure. 1985 a Euro 89 a Euro in the post-apocalyptic cyberpunk series Appleseed by Masamiune Shiro, in which hyperstructures dominate the skyline of the city Olympus. 1999 a Euro in the science fiction movie series The Matrix, the last human city, known as Zion, is a hyperstructure. Due to nuclear scarring of the Earth's surface and atmosphere, the hyperstructure is buried deep underground. While ecologically sparse, the habitat's climate is controlled by complex machinery in the lower levels. The population is in the realm of 200,000. Due to the nature of the aggression from the machines, Zion is an example of a heavily fortified hyperstructure. 1999 a Euro 2007 a Euro the anime Get Backers has overarching plots involving a semi-constructed mega-building called the Limitless Fortress. However, because its construction was abandoned, it has few inhabitants, and those it has may not all be real. 2002 a Euro in the film Equilibrium, an arcology named Libria is the last human civilization, a society in which peace is kept by the forced administration of an injected liquid drug designed to completely suppress emotions. 2002 a Euro in the anime of Shangri-La, the arcology called Atlas stands behind a Tokyo abandoned after a devastating earthquake in the 2060s. It was intended to hold about 3 million people, and only those with connections or those who were chosen by lottery are allowed to live there. 2005 a Euro in the film Aeon Flux, Earth's surviving humans live in Bregna, an enclosed and self-sufficient city-state. 2005 a Euro in the fourth season finale of the science fiction show Andromeda, a large battle takes place in space around an antiquated space hyperstructure known simply as Arcology. 2006 a Euro 07 a Euro in the anime Code Geass, the Holy Britannian Empire constructs an arcology over the ruins of Tokyo called the Tokyo Settlement. Video games or writes computer game SimCity 2000 allows the construction of 4 different types of arcologies. Arcologies reappeared in SimCity as a great work. Another Wright game, Spore, features bubbled cities that serve the same function. In Wright's 1990 Sim Earth, nanotech age cities eventually advanced to an exodus of the entire sentient species of the planet. 2 levels of the video game Deus Ex, Invisible War posits a futuristic arcology, simply called the Arcology, on the edge of an ancient Medina in Cairo. In Chrono Trigger, the structure known as the Black Omen that appears across timelines after Queen Zeal summons Levos to the Ocean Palace is defined as an arcology. The city of Chronopolis seen in Chrono Cross can also be considered as an arcology. In the computer game Afterlife, the player controlling heaven and hell can eventually purchase love domes or omnibulges. Functioning similarly to arcologies, these structures are the remnants of transcended destroyed heaven-hells that are able to hold billions of souls. In the computer game Civilization, Call to Power, the Arcology Advance, found in a near-future part of the technology list, grants access to the Arcology building, which reduces overcrowding effects in its host city. This is also available in Call to Power 2. The tutorial in the computer game Dystopia takes place in Yggdrasil's first arcology. In Mass Effect the Codex explains that Earth is composed mainly of arcology buildings. In Final Fantasy VII the city of Midgar and the military base of Junon are examples of arcology. In Final Fantasy VIII the city of Istar and the flying universities of Galbadia and Balamb are arcologies. The Outpost computer game and its sequel both focus on building arcologies on various planets to contain what remains of humanity after Earth is obliterated by an asteroid. The game Brink is set in a futuristic arcology to preserve humanity after a natural flooding disaster. In Final Fantasy XIII, Cocoon is an example of an arcology. In Xenogears, the city of Kislev is the remains of a very ancient military base that is a self-contained city. Role-playing and tabletop games, in the tabletop strategy game Warhammer 40,000, hyperstructures, called hives, are extremely common and are the main method of housing large populations in the billions. Arcologies are so widespread that some planets, dubbed hive worlds, are constructed entirely of hyperstructures. Necromunda, an offshoot game set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, involves conflict between rival gangs on the hive world of Necromunda. In the RPG Shadowrun, a number of hyperstructures such as the Rinraku arcology exist by 2050, most of which are mega-corporate controlled. A major theme to these is the desire of a large corporation to control every aspect of its employees' lives. A major meta-plot element was the sealing off of the aforementioned Rinraku arcology in Seattle when the advanced computer control system awakened into a self-aware AI named Deus. In the RPG Trinity, a number of hyperstructures exist, with the largest being that of the New York arcology run by the Psi Order Agotk. In the Rifts RPG, the capital of the Coalition States is the city of Chi-Town. Along with some of the other major Coalition cities, Chi-Town is considered a mega-city in that its entire population is housed inside one giant structure consisting of more than 30 levels, each of which are several stories high and contain a number of sub-levels. In Wildfire's Cthulhu-Tech RPG, humanity has been forced to live in fortified arcologies due to attacks from the Old Ones and the Migog. In Mindstorm Labs' Alpha Omega RPG, the world's populations have retreated into arcology city-states to protect themselves from the war-torn decimation of the Earth's surface. The Fallout franchise, created in 1997 by Interplay, contains several self-sustaining vaults that are cities. Each vault can hold around 1,000 people, has its own self-sustaining power supply, water treatment center and built-in food creators. Most vaults however, are known to have failed in less than 50 years or so in the series timeline, from attacks by Enclave or mutants, destruction, or accidents. The only known vaults to be completely running 200 years after the bombs dropped are Vault 101, located in Washington, D.C., and Vault 21, located in Las Vegas, Nevada. In Android, Netrunner, Players controlling a corporation can construct arcologies or control resources associated with them. See also. References, notes. Further reading, Soleri, Paolo Arcology, The City and the Image of Man 1969, Cambridge, Massachusetts MIT Press. External links, arcology.com Useful links, The Night Land by William Hope Hodgson, Victory City, A Discussion of Arcology Concepts, Usage of Arcology, versus Hyperstructure, Arcology.com, Arcology, Sculptors Wiki, Arcology, Review of Shadowrun, Rinraku Arcology, Floating Arcology A Design to Prevent Against Rising Sea Levels.